What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tone Nerds, our very first episode. We're so excited to have you guys here. My name is Ruben Melendez.
I'm Micah McQuistion.
And we're here to talk about all things guitar related. So if you've been talking about guitar and your wife is fed up about hearing about a piece of wood with 6 strings on it, we're your guys. We're here to talk nerdy to you.
All day.
So we're going to be talking about pedals, amps. We're going to be doing some demos, all kinds of stuff. And we're excited to get into that with you guys.
So I know you guys are probably thinking, who are these guys?
Yeah.
And why do I want to listen to them about guitar tone?
Mm-hmm. Well, who are you, Micah? How did you get started on this guitar journey?
Yeah, man. So I was actually 18 when I started playing. My brother had come home from college and had picked up guitar, and he came home and he was shredding on his Ibanez RX-20.
Yeah, man, Ibanez.
So, man, I was like, that looks like I want to do that. That looks amazing. So he actually gifted me his old Odessa acoustic guitar, just restrung it upside down left-handed. One of the biggest mistakes ever made.
Yeah, man. Nobody told Micah, hey, just don't play left-handed.
Nope.
I play left-handed, but I play like a right-handed. But
Yeah. So anyway, that happened. That was virtually unplayable. But the itch never went away. About 6 months later, took a trip to the local guitar shop, bought me a purple Stratocaster.
Yeah, man. That's where it starts.
Man.
That's where it starts.
That's it. Purple was the only color they had in left-handed. So, that was my choice by default.
There you go.
But anyway, just could not put the guitar down. I played hours and hours a day. Just got the itch. Through the years, have had a lot of gear, some really great gear. A lot of regrets with getting rid of some of it. But listening to guys through the years. Mike Schweitzer from Mercy Me was probably the most influential guitar player to me early on.
He has great talent.
Yeah, went through an edge phase like all guitar players do, most likely.
Iconic.
It just led me to where I'm at today. I had the good fortune of playing with some really great musicians at different churches I've been in, a few different bands I've been in.
Yeah.
And that's actually where Ruben and I linked up.
Yeah, that's where we kind of met.
At Stonegate where we play now.
But the thing you don't know about Micah is this man has some of the best guitar tone this side of the Mississippi. So I am definitely asking him a lot of questions and things like that. He's someone who you could look up to tone-wise. So
I appreciate it. Thank you for that. So yeah, man, I'd love to hear about your story, what got you interested in guitar, and then kind of what's your story been, what's your journey been up to this point?
Yeah, man, it's funny that you mentioned your brother because my brother also was the one that kind of got me started. He had just joined the military. He was in college to go into the military, and then he goes to airborne school where you go to learn how to jump out of planes.
Nice. That's rock and roll.
Yeah, it was rock and roll. So his roommate played acoustic guitar, and he showed him a couple chords, G, C, E minor, D, and he came home and was like, "Hey, man, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm killing on the guitar."
I don't want to brag.
But I know guitar now.
I kind of dominate.
Yeah. And so then he got started, he was just learning on YouTube and, doing the new to guitar thing. And my mom played a few chords, so we had an acoustic guitar lying around, and then my uncle played. So it was, I've kind of been around it. But then when my brother learned, it was there. I had somebody teach me. So then he showed it to me. And around that time, School of Rock came out, Jack Black.
Yes.
And then they just made music look like so much fun. And then not long after that, my brother came home with Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock. And he was just like, "Hey, man, I got a game for you." And so we played that so much. I would wake up early for church. My mom would be coming in. I'm already dressed for church, and I'm just just playing through the fire and the flames, just pre-gaming for church.
I'm sure it translates.
Yeah,
very well.
I feel like every generation has that little catalyst that gets
Yep.
Oh, everybody's wanting to play guitar now. So that was mine. And then, I went on to go to, college, and I did music education. And then I went and got my master's degree in music theory. And around my junior year of my undergrad, I started as a music teacher, private lessons, teaching like guitar and all that kinds of stuff. So did that. I'm kind of there just around 10 years now of teaching guitar, being a guitar teacher, and that's kind of how I got my start. Where am I now? And I play for local church. That's actually how me and Micah met, through playing together at church. And so all kinds of tone. I think that's what makes guitar so fun, because tone for church, that like swampy, like reverb delay kind of thing, very CCM, different than when I'm working with my students and they're like, hey man, let's learn Metallica, or we're working through AC/DC. So there's so many great tones to explore, and none of them are necessarily better or worse than the other, but it's just so subjective. It's like good tone in one genre so it can be completely different than good tone in another genre. So we got lots to talk about here at Tone Nerds.
Absolutely,
great tone of all kinds.
That's right. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think tone is a very subjective thing. Like somebody's idea of a great tone. Mm. Like I may think something just sounds killer, and you may just be like, But I do think there are some foundational things that, regardless of genre,
you gotta have them.
You gotta have them in place to have great tone. And as we go through the coming weeks and months, I'm really excited to talk about some of those things. I'm excited to just kind of take that journey with you and with you guys. And I'm excited to talk about it, to learn things myself, and to just nerd out. I mean,
we're here to nerd out. Yeah. So let's get into it. Top 5 tone tips we wish we knew earlier. All right, so let's get into it. Tone tip number 1. Tone tip number 1 is probably one of the biggest game changers for me in my guitar journey, and that is make sure you always EQ your guitar from the bridge pickup. Right? I struggled with like wimpy tone-itis for my first few years of playing guitar, and it was because I'd EQ from the neck pickup, get kind of like a nice warm sound, but inadvertently when I'd go to switch to my bridge pickup, it always sounded thin and wimpy because I just never really paid attention to it.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I did just the opposite. So
really.
Yeah. So when I started, I wanted that bridge pickup sound. That's why I started playing guitar.
Man, you're probably just smarter than I am, because I was just like, why do they even make bridge pickups? These are lame.
Right. Now, I did have to. I think you are correct. I think that's the way to do it. Get that bridge pickup dialed in first, but I think it also is important to realize you're probably going to need to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it always is going to be a little bit of give and take. You could dial in the perfect bridge tone, but it may be a little bit too flabby on the neck pickup. So, but I do agree 100%. Yeah. Start with the bridge.
It's easier to get warmer as you go towards the neck pickup,
Correct.
The middle position, and then the kind of neck position. Than it is to get a really nice warm sound and then flip to the bridge pickup and then get that nice and full.
Right on. Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Tone tip number 2. So this is something that I think is especially as somebody who likes to play with pedals a lot. I love pedals.
Don't we love pedals?
But I think before you bring any pedal into the mix, like get a good sound out of your amp. Or
come on, you're preaching.
Or if obviously if you're using like a IR, something like that.
Well,
a Ruby maybe, or a Dream, or a Iridium, or whatever the case may be. Get a really great, get the best tone you can get from that before adding any compression, adding any drive, anything else. Like get that right.
Yeah, because if the guitar interaction between the guitar and the amp or amp modeler or whatever you're using isn't right, then just stacking pedals on top of that isn't going to magically make it sound great. So if you're not getting just a nice clean bass out of just your guitar and the amp, there's no magic button.
Yeah, I just try not to get into a situation where you're having to set your pedals to fix your clean sound.
Tip number 3. So I think this is another one that I have personally I have committed these sins myself. So I have learned, again, through just the process of failing, is to know your gear. Knowing your gear is so important, especially with just the way technology moves nowadays. You can buy a pedal and you're like, oh, this is going to solve my problems. And then 3 months later, they release version 2. And it's like, oh, dang. Now you feel like you're stuck in this rat race of, I'm buying a pedal, I'm selling a pedal, I'm buying a new pedal, I'm selling a new pedal. And then you never really get to know even all the, the facets of what a pedal or an amp or even a guitar can actually do. So I've seen so many great players. Just, you don't always need the most expensive stuff, the newest stuff. You just need stuff that you know how to use really well. I think that's really the big thing that kind of goes into getting great tone.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, a really prime example of that is the Strymon Big Sky MX that just came out, which I'm guilty of. It went out.
Hey man, why not? You're exploring new ground.
I am. Yeah. So Ruben sent me a link. He's like, "Hey man, have you seen this?" Like, no, I haven't. So I spent probably 3 hours that night. 3 hours that night looking at videos on it, and then I bought it like an idiot. But I mean, it's a great pedal.
No,
great pedal.
For me, it makes more sense for you to buy it because the original Strymon. Big Sky really much better than I do. So like for me, I'm like, I use maybe 3 banks on this thing and it has like 3, joke. I think I used 3 banks on it and I have 3. So I definitely felt that itch to just like pull the trigger on a new Strymon. But I'm like, I haven't even learned this one yet. What am I supposed to do with it in stereo? I don't even know how to.
Well, and I mean, that underscores the idea of like, know your gear. Like know how to get what you're looking for. There's a sound in your head. I guarantee you, with a Strymon Big Sky, if you have a reverb sound in your head, chances are you're going to be able to get it.
Yeah, and I think
you don't need an MX to do that.
Yeah, some of the best advice I ever got was, tone comes a lot from the fingers. You know, and we're going to talk about a lot of like gear and stuff. But one rule that I set for myself that was a tip from somebody else, and they said, hey, don't buy a piece of new gear until you feel the limitations of the old one.
Oh, that's
I think that's a great rule to have. So if I don't feel limited with a piece of gear because I haven't explored it enough, then I'm not allowed to buy a new one. a new one.
That's a great rule. Yeah.
So if I haven't even read the manual, and then I'm not allowed to get another one. And it's just like you see people like John Mayer. John Mayer sounds like John Mayer on any guitar he plays. Yeah. It's absolutely. Because he knows his, how to get the tone from his guitar, from his amp. And then you put pedals on, and those are enhancements to what you're doing. So knowing your pedals really well, knowing your guitar really well, your amp settings before just buying a bunch of stuff is going to really, move your tone forward, I think.
Tip number 4 for great tone. This is, talking about knowing your gear. You can have the greatest gear in the world, but signal chain is so important. Yeah. So the sequence in which you run those pedals is, you could, like I said, you could have the nicest pedals in the world. You have them in the wrong sequence, man, you're toast. Your tone is going to be trash. So signal chain is super important. There are, the general concepts that, need to be followed with signal chain in terms of getting your gains in the front, fuzzes in the front, reverbs at the end of the chain, delays at the end of the chain, those kind of things. And we'll probably do a show on signal chain. Yeah, we'll do
a whole video just on getting a good signal chain. But just explore it. You'd be surprised what maybe works for your sound. Again, tone is so subjective. Yep. Maybe for you like the wild sound of the fuzz kind of like after an overdrive. We saw that in there's a guy who was talking about that the other day. He's like, I love stacking overdrive and fuzz. And then I'm like, I've never even thought to try that, So that's just a really cool thing. Speaking from experience, I know I had, especially for all of like the amp modeler guys out there, that was something for me when I took my wet effects and then put them after, because I usually play through an Iridium. I put them after my Iridium and it completely changed the sound of like my reverbs. And I'm like, oh shoot, I'd been missing out, man. This is really cool. So explore what. Sometimes it's not always just the pedal that you're using. It's the placement in the chain.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, and I think there's obviously a science to guitar playing and to tone building, but it's also an art. You know,
Yeah.
It's a way to express yourself creatively. It's not just the notes you're playing; it's the sounds that you're creating. So. Just think of your pedal board as a palette. You know, that's your different colors you get to play with. And while there are some general rules that I think are really important to make sure that you have a starting point, just like any kind of creative space, you know, rules are made to be broken. So don't be scared to experiment with that.
Yeah, move pedals around, switch it up, be creative. But you'd be surprised what just moving or swapping the order of two pedals can do for a tone. So,
yeah, absolutely.
All right, the last one on the list.
Number 5.
We got number 5. And it feels like it kind of goes without saying, but this is so important because it doesn't matter how good your stuff is, how well you play even, if your stuff is not in tune. So number 5, stay in tune. And this means, and because I know some people are like, oh wow, I watched this whole video just for them to say, hey, tune your guitar, you know, to get to the end. No, we're not just saying that. There's so many things that go into intonation, right? Your guitar's ability to stay in tune. I didn't know. And, you know, I played guitar all since I was like 11. It wasn't until I got to college and someone was like, hey, have you ever gotten your guitar set up? And I'm like, what's that? you know, you can take your guitar in for a tune-up? I didn't know that. So get a good setup. Find a good setup guy because you'd be surprised what that does to the playability of a guitar.
Yeah.
Its ability to stay in tune from the 1st fret all the way to the 12th fret. Now when I buy a guitar, I almost just instinctively take it straight to my setup guy. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I buy a new guitar, I take it straight to get set up because it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like Ruben said, there's a lot that goes into that. Obviously, you want to have a good tuner.
Yeah.
Have a pedal to do that. I mean, a lot of people can tune by ear, and that's fine if you can get away with that, but I know having a tuner on your board is nice. So,
and a good tuner, because I'm definitely that guy who's always like, I don't want to spend $100 on a tuner. I'm gonna spend $30. But my tuner works like I spent $30. You know?
Yeah.
So you know, the light will go out, or sometimes it'll be in tune on the pedal, but then I go to play it, I'm like, I think my pedal's lying to me a little bit. I'm feeling a little I think it's lying. Yeah. So maybe spend more than $30 on just, you know, on your tuner.
Absolutely. And you know, to your point about setup, yes, I think those are the things that are, especially, you know, with guitars that maybe are less expensive, you know, like my Barney Purple Strat that I got.
There you go. Yeah.
That thing probably needed a setup, but I never got it because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, we didn't know any better.
But yeah, I think that's going to do a lot, not only in terms of your intonation, but playability as well.
It's going to feel a lot better.
Yeah, and not to be forgotten here is strings. You know,
that's good.
The gauge of strings you use.
Mm-hmm. It all affects how you stay in tune. And that your guitar is set up for the right... So if you change your string gauge, that you get it set up for that string gauge. I didn't know that was a thing until after a couple of years of playing.
Yeah. So all those things, we say all that to say, like, make sure your guitar is in tune. Yeah,
you were a lot better at that. It's probably more from just like having the experience and the wisdom than I was. I definitely would, you know, after a service, we hitting that altar call and I pick up that guitar. You're tuning, acoustic guitar is tuning, and I'm just like, hey man, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm gonna just run it, risk it for the biscuit, baby. Let's just plug and play. Let's go.
God's got me.
Yeah, and then I'd start playing, and I'd be like, "This was a mistake. I should have tuned first." So, tune your guitars, get them set up. Tuning matters. So,
absolutely,
get it done. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. All right, so thank you guys for watching. We hope this was helpful. Feel free to drop your own tone tips in the comments. Let's get that conversation started. If you have any questions, things you'd like to see, we got tone reviews, gear demos, gear tutorial stuff coming your way. So feel free to ask any questions and things you'd like to see in future videos.
That's right. Yeah, we got, like Ruben said, got a lot of stuff coming your way. So be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys soon.